Let us ask a question to a political scientist. Maybe he knows. Maxym Dzhigun is with us, with our studio. Hello, Maxym.
Hello.
My first question, what factors can actually lead to a global food crisis? I mean, for real. Is that possible?
Absolutely. And I would say that there are not just factors that can lead to global food crisis. There are lots of factors that are already leading to food crisis in the world. And, according to the United Nations calculations, more than 10% of the world population, it's more than 800 million people in the world, they are starving. And this is one of the largest numbers during the last 10 years.
Right.
And that's a huge problem for the world right now. And in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goals, which were created and designed by the United Nations in 2015, like the human population is trying to create a zero hunger in the world by 2030, and it's the second goal among these sustainable development goals. And actually, there are many reasons which can lead to the food insecurity in the world, starting from global climate change, growth of population, growth of prices, economical crisis, of course, and of course, wars like we have in Ukraine right now.
Well, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? We're going to moon. We're sending spaceships, spacecrafts to the universe. And at the same time, people are starving on this planet, which is capable of feeding like everyone, I believe. Well, it's strange, but that's who we are, that's people. But tell me, who is more vulnerable? What regions, say, of our beautiful green planet, of our world, are most vulnerable to a possible famine, to a possible global food crisis?
I would say that, first of all, these are African countries like Kenya, Zimbabwe, Senegal. Of course, these are the countries located in Asia, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen. And among them, there are even some countries in Latin America, like Colombia or Venezuela. And most of them are among the countries which can be, vulnerable to the food crisis because of many reasons, as we mentioned above, but of course also because of the war in Ukraine. And what we see now that Russia is doing in Ukraine, trying to steal as much grain of Ukraine as possible, that leads to this insecure in the food sphere.
You mentioned Russia. Well, tell me, how is Russia, to your opinion, is exacerbating the food situation in the world? It certainly uses a possibility of a crisis as a weapon, isn't it? How?
Well, we can see this tries to to change the situation on the global market of food and to make insecurity in this sphere, starting from the very beginning of the war in 2022, when Russia started to attack deliberately south of Ukraine, the regions with the highest yields like Mykolaiv, Odessa, Kherson, and many other regions of Ukraine. That's the first reason and the first factor they started to use back in 2022. And secondly, I would say that we can see that there are more and more evidence that Putin, he tried to cause hunger in Ukraine even before the full-scale invasion in 2022, as many international NGOs show and journalists prove. Russian Ministry of War, and I call it Ministry of War, it's not Ministry of Defense, they made lots of contracts to buy different trucks, to buy ships in 2021. And it was made just because they knew that they would try to steal Ukrainian grain and cause a massive hunger in our country. So that's one of the main news in the world now. And it shows definitely that Russia is responsible for all the problems Ukraine has right now in context of the war and hunger and food insecurity in many other areas.
Does Ukraine have anything to counter that behavior of the Kremlin, which is more like a genocide? But do you have a weapon against that?
I would say that the best weapon of Ukraine is our army and our armed forces, which try to fight against Russia and makes it very successfully. That's first of all, and it happens on the battlefield. But there are many other chances, for example, to push on international institutions like United Nations, like other OSCE organizations, and the civilized world, which knows that Russia is responsible for the problems we have in Ukraine and even in the world, because it's not just local problem, and it doesn't affect only our country, but it makes lots of problems for different regions, even in Europe or Western American countries.
Well, someone's problem is always someone's problem until the hunger meets you at your doorstep, until the war comes into your house. You never understand what is the problem, actually. Because I've heard voices in America, I've heard voices in Europe, all over the world, that are telling that, why they're not just sitting on the table and negotiate. Why Ukraine is not negotiating with Russia, you think?
There are, I think, two main reasons. First of them is that Russia is just waiting for the reaction from Ukraine, that we are ready to sit near the table and to discuss the possibilities to frozen this war. But this situation will lead only to a bigger war in the future, because it will take like 3 to 5 years for Russia to find another opportunities and weapons and other instruments to attack Ukraine even more than they did in 2022. And they need this rest, they need this time just to find another capability to do that. And that's the main reason why Ukraine shouldn't accept any proposals from Russia or even our Western partners, which just want us to stop this war at any cost. And we understand that the cost is already very high, but if we stop it now without having all the territory of Ukraine integrated and in Ukrainian I would say the situation of 1991, that will just lead to another war in few years.
And also some other dictators are closely watching, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And we can see it from, for example, China, which is trying to see how this conflict will end and to understand how to react on the Taiwan crisis. Or we can see it from many other leaders, I would say leaders, authoritarian or totalitarian leaders in the world, who just want to take more space, who want to get more influence in their regions, and to show that these anti-democratic movements are stronger than the civilized world.
Maxym, thank you very much for what you do and for your political science, for your lesson that you just gave me and my audience. Thank you very much.